Hey, how's it going? I'm Brad Dollar, producer, engineer, and coach. Thanks so much for watching. You may or may not know from watching the channel that I've been involved in music for a very long time, pretty much all of my life. And so the other day I got to thinking, what is the stuff that I wish I knew when I started that I know now is so powerful and so important to not just my workflow, but my creativity and my purpose in this field of making music? It was not hard for me to come up with a list of things that I know now that I really wish I knew when I started, but I've tried to hone them down to a handful that I think will be the most helpful to you if you're just getting going in your journey recording and producing music. And if you've been recording music for a very long time, even longer than I have maybe, then I hope at the very least, if I don't give you new information, I help affirm some of your own practices and principles that have helped you get to where you are. But before we get started, if you can do me a huge favor and light up that like button and light up that subscribe button, that would help me out a lot to let the YouTube algorithm know I exist and to let more people just like yourself get a hold of this information and do great things with their music. All right, let's go. One of the first things that I wish I knew when I started recording music and working in studios is that everything takes longer than you think. Writing, recording, mixing, overdubbing, editing, all of it just takes longer than you think. Under the microscope of the studio, all the tiny intricacies and things that just sort of get glossed over and get buried become very obvious. And our ears connect with that, pinpoint those things, and naturally want to work on them, embellish them, improve them, fix them, and overall just make them part of our process of creating. So as soon as you start recording a song, it takes a ton of discipline to not go off the deep end, to not just create endlessly, overdub constantly, keep layering the tracks. It just keeps going and going because your mind keeps getting inspired. Being comfortable with the duration of a project, no matter if it's super short or super long, will help you to be more free with your process, to be more free with your creativity, especially when it comes to the engineering side of music. You really will be able to create better pieces of functional art, better technical examples of your music. Inspiration and creativity happen so spontaneously and what feels like so instantly that we hold the rest of the process to that same bar, but we just aren't serving ourselves the best opportunity when we do that. Don't underestimate how long it takes to record and produce really well-crafted music. And if it happens really quickly and instantly, cool, awesome, done. You saved a bunch of time, go work on some more music. But don't expect that to happen. Let those moments be special and make sure that the rest of the time you spend making music, you're giving yourself plenty of padding to do the best work you possibly can. Another thing I would go back in time and tell myself when I was just starting to recording is to not judge everything that I do based upon the norms. It's far more likely that new, inventive things will come when you break outside of the norms and just do your own thing. Especially when it comes to recording and engineering, it seems like there's a lot of rules. It seems like there's a lot of strings holding you in place and preventing certain decisions, but there really isn't. You can really do whatever you want. There are no wrong answers. If someone tells you to not distort something, then distort it. If someone tells you that a flanger and a delay together are not going to make a vocal come to life, try it. See if you can make it work. Getting too caught up in the minutia of engineering can actually prevent you from creating your best art and actually engineering. If we did everything in the studio by the book, music would sound sterile, it would sound lifeless, it would be too pristine and nothing like the raw and imperfect feeling that we get from music when it's in front of us. Frequencies clash, tunings are sometimes dissonant, air pressure affects how fast some sounds travel and not. Like music is just never presented in a perfect vacuum. We never experience it like that. And so when we try to hold it to a perfect standard or hold it to some bar that doesn't exist, we really are doing a disservice to our music. And this is when things start to sound too cookie cutter or when they sound too fake, if you will, is when someone has tried to shove the music into a round hole when it's a square peg. So if you're making a creative decision in the studio because it feels good, you're making the right one. But if the only reason you're making your creative decisions is based upon what you think is technically right, you're going to paint yourself into a corner that you may not be able to get yourself out of. So as you're in the studio, as you're setting levels, as you're plugging things in, hooking things up, and building your setup, don't judge your creativity against what is expected. Don't try to make your beautiful, fresh, inspired thoughts fit into a traditional box, because it will fit. It will absolutely fit in that box, and then it will also become lifeless. That box will become a casket for your music. So please be yourself, and especially when it comes to technical things like preamp levels and compression and mic placements, have fun. Be yourself, try new things, try different combinations of things, and see what happens. I guarantee you will be inspired, surprised, and you may, in the process of doing this, create the new norm. Another thing I would go back in time and tell my young self who's starting to record is to start learning other skills as soon as you think that you want to learn them. For me, there's two big things that I waited too long to learn, even though I knew really early on that I wanted to learn them. The first is practical music theory. I've been learning music theory since I was a little kid. I started playing clarinet when I was like 7, and when I started with my first guitar teacher, definitely presented me with music theory, but I really waited too long to learn how to apply it practically. It's great to know like what notes come where and how chords are made and all those things and how you make these shapes, but actually applying it to writing music, I waited too long to learn how to do that. And I think I missed some great opportunities, not just in work and in music, but in creativity and in discovering new things. And I'm feeling that now is I have that theory and I have those skills under my belt and I'm witnessing what I'm able to create with that. And I just think, man, if I had been doing this earlier, I might have been making better music earlier on. So if there's something that you want to learn, go for it. Another thing is programming, like truly programming. I didn't learn how to use Ableton Live till about 2015. And I think if I had started around 2010, I may have given myself an even greater advantage. Not just in terms of being able to work on more projects and work on more stuff, but I would just be making better music inside of Ableton Live. So whatever that thing is, if you feel inspired to learn it, don't wait for it. Don't wait for the right opportunity. Just get into it, because it's gonna take time to build that skill up. It's gonna take a lot of time to practice it, learn the intricacies and watch videos and make all those things possible in your actual workflow. So if you feel inspired to do something, just do it. Learning something fresh can help your whole process just wake up and explode with creativity, help you discover a new chapter in the way you make music. So definitely, if you feel called to learn something, go learn it. Don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of that learning curve. You will get over it and you will love what you're able to do with your new skills. So here's a big one. Here's something I really wish I knew when I started recording music that I know now, and it's to not be afraid of the business. I was deathly afraid of the music industry business when I started out. Even though I've been deeply in it since I was a little kid, I've been playing shows and putting out records and selling merch and promoting, just like literally since I was 12 or 13 years old. My first band was Society's Edge, societysedge.bandcamp.com for some great crappy teenage music from the early 2000s. Don't be afraid of the business. I spent what feels like a very big energetic portion of my late teens and early 20s just trying to throw stones at the walls of the music industry, trying to break it down or break through or whatever it may be. You know, I always felt for a long time that the major labels and those things like that, they were our enemy, or they were out to sink the whole ship or ruin it for everything. And it's just not the case. They don't care enough to do that. They're there, the big labels, the big business, all business around music is there to propel and amplify the creativity of others. Oftentimes, yes, that's very extractive, and it's something that I think is what kept me from that. But not playing the game doesn't help you to win it. And as soon as I came to terms with the business and I saw that I could be somebody who could replenish people inside of it, help people, build very holistic ecosystems and workflows and bring knowledge and information to people and help them thrive and find their abundance. As soon as I realized that business, especially music business, was a platform to do that, I was hooked. And if I could do anything for myself out of this whole list, I think that's what it would be. I would go back and I'd say to my young self, don't be afraid of the business, get in it. Get involved in it, study it, practice it, study all facets of it, and become one with it. Because even if you live in a silo and you just make music by yourself and no one ever comes over to your studio and you never release it, you're still part of the music business. Every instrument you bought, every record you listen to, it's all part of it. And so you're in that ecosystem. And now you have an opportunity to really see how that whole ecosystem is working like no other time before, and to actually have a really strong business for yourself around your creativity and your art from the comfort of your own house, your own home studio that was once a silo, which is now an open playground for many people to connect with you. Whatever that situation is, don't be afraid of the business. It's here, it's around us, and if you hate it, if you're disgusted by it, then jump in and try to change it. Be someone who makes it better, more positive. Be someone who makes it more inclusive, more fair. So I want you to see the business around music as something to not be afraid of, but something to embrace and use as a tool to help you grow your own art, as well as the relationships and the lives of all those around you that you care about. Another really important thing that I wish I could tell myself just getting started in the studio business is to buy once, cry once. As time has gone on and looking at all of the studios belonging to my friends and people I really admire, gear is accumulated over time. And when you buy really great stuff, you don't sell it. So if I could go back in time, I would just say buy once, cry once. I frequently look back and am just so ashamed of myself for selling Space Echoes that I had that I got for a crazy good deal, or had an orange rocker verb that I love so much that I got for a crazy good deal, and guitars and effects and all those things. And I think if I just hung on to that stuff, then I would have that pile of stuff now, versus like trying to go buy any of that now it's exponentially more expensive and sometimes kind of hard to find at all, like the Space Echoes. I mean, I got such a great deal on those Space Echoes. And so now I'm like, okay, what plugins do I use to do that? And trying to find one used on Reverb that's not crazy expensive. So if you can, hang on to what you've bought, hang on to what you love, and if you find something you really fall in love with, you find something you really attach with, do not get rid of it. Just hang on to it and find other ways to replace that income if you need it. And also, like, if you can't afford the thing that you have your eyes on, don't buy it. Like, if you think you're just gonna have to flip it, just don't buy it. Hang on, wait until you can buy that thing and keep it, and just keep it. So if I can go back to my old self, I would just say, buy once, cry once, hang on to this awesome gear, do not get rid of it, and when you find something you love, keep it. And one more thing, at least for now, that I would go back in time and tell myself as I'm just getting into studio recording and engineering, is to not be afraid to take risks, and don't be so careful. It took me a long time to stop being cautious with the little technical things inside of music, from setting levels to being willing to have things pop out of my mixes and not have everything be so perfect and glued down. I tried to just glue everything down when I started. I wanted everything to just sit perfectly, feel perfectly, never get in the way of anything, always be the right volume, and that's just a fool's errand because firstly, it'll never happen. You just can't make music perfect enough. It's imperfect. It's imperfect. Music is imperfect. We are imperfect as people. And so we can never expect the things that we create to be perfect or to be totally glossed over and polished. And as soon as we start doing that, we suck all the life out of it and we just mute the beauty and the intensity that's in the music. And so it just feels like garbage. This feels like not great music. So when we are less careful and we take more risks, we make things that are really surprising to us. And remember, we're just talking about music. We're just talking about songs. And so you owe it to yourself to take the biggest swings, take the biggest risks you can. Obviously this comes in balance. Don't take a risk on the back of somebody else. Make sure that it's a risk that you can own and that you can deal with if it goes either way, but take those risks. Don't be too careful. My first boss, my first mentor, and Stephen Hart, he always told me, like, don't be afraid to have things pop out of your mix. Don't nail everything down in your mixes. Have things pop out, create drama. This is what creates a sense of dynamics, he said. This is what creates a sense of movement and energy in your music. And as I get deeper into this path, every record I love, everything I do that I love and other people love too, has that in it. Things aren't perfect. Things pop in, they pop out. Volumes come up and down. There's movement. And so if I'm gonna sum this up, it's to not make things so static. Don't make things in your life static. Don't make things in your music and your mix static. Just let things flow and be free. Life is not static. Life is in a constant state of flow and flux and change. And so it's no surprise that music and our creativity wants to follow the same path. And that's really what I want you to take away from this thing that I would tell my younger self is, don't be afraid to explore and don't be afraid to deploy the treasures that you find into your process, because truly amazing things will come out of it. All right, so that's what I got for now for you. I hope there are some things in this video that help you in your current process to become your best future self. And if you've been doing this for a long time, I hope that this helped affirm things that you might have discovered that you're like, yeah, I really am grateful that I know that now, and I really wish I knew that when I started. Because when we take stock of the things that help us be our best selves now, we can really understand what is helping us grow, so that hopefully we can replicate those things and look for more things that we can grow through and grow with to become our best selves in the studio and beyond. If there's things that you know now that you wish you knew when you started, please drop them in the comments. I'd love to hear them. I'd love to understand your journey, know where you've been, and help this whole community of creators learn from each other so we can all make the best music we possibly can in our lifetimes. Before you go, please make sure you like and definitely subscribe. There's lots more on the way. I love bringing these videos to you. And if there's something that you want to know or there's a question you have, drop it in the comments, send me a message. I'd love to hear from you and make sure I get your questions answered. Be sure to follow me on social @BrettKDollar and stay in touch. Thanks so much for watching. See you soon.